light-skinned girl tears, and no one will ever know. God, it's so good. Alright, you're gonna have to pardon the noise because I'm not in technically speaking, I'm not in a safe zone to be making this video. But I got a little window of time, and since I'm thinking about it right now, I might as well make this video right now. So, first things first, like all jokes aside, like I can joke about it. I can joke about, Chrissy's video and all that. Like, let me start off with some of the things that she said in her video that I feel are spot on. The main one is if dudes are attracted to, other women, whether that's light-skinned women or just whatever other woman that a guy likes, guys will come out and bring out the capes for women that they are attracted to. Because essentially the women that they are not attracted to, their opinion really doesn't fucking matter. What they gotta say, social injustice, whatever goes on, it doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, it's gonna come down to trying to gain favor of the woman that they're attracted to so that they could potentially fuck that woman. And bringing out the capes, the idea is that, if you bring out the capes for them, especially, in public spaces where everybody can see you and they can feel protected and all that other stuff, then somehow that's going to get you some pussy points, and you going to get the pussy of, the chick that you really wanted, because you really don't care about the dark-skinned girl. You really want the light-skinned girl. So, you're always going to cape for her, no matter what. Now, one of the things that, I've routinely said to Chrissy, especially with all this, we're going to incorporate these, women in the group, and they're black too, and the promotion has to be equal, even though she's evolved to not be on that. But that is where she started, and that's where most black women still, are for the most part. And I'm like, okay, well, if that's going to be the approach, then, as members of the group, as members of the community, whatever grievances they do have are going to have to be acknowledged, right? It's like black people in America as a whole, right? White people don't really give a fuck about what goes on with black people and the issues that we have and affect us and whatnot. And how do we feel about that, right? We say that we're Americans, we're a part of America, right? We should have constitutional rights like everybody else, and, for the most part, we can say, okay, we're Americans, but then when it comes down to real shit that affects us, is white America listening? No. And I'm saying the same thing goes for light-skinned people. So that's my whole position on that. It's like, if you're going to include them, then you're going to have to acknowledge their grievances. If you're not going to include them, fuck them, right? Because you can just stand there, regardless of what everybody else is on, you can stand there and you say, this ain't for you, this is for us. We're representing us, you cannot represent us, and, you draw the line in the sand however you're going to draw the line, in the sand. What else was I going to say? There was some other stuff that I was going to say. Stuff about promotion, and there was something else I was going to say about the whole light skin thing. Personally, I think, and I said this in the previous video, I think that, black men's lack of desire to do anything has a great deal to do with the whole concept of, finished products. Light-skinned women are finished products. I've said, for a long time that I feel that a lot of light-skinned women, because of, the support that they get from the media and their high self-esteem, they try to live up to, the stereotype. People tend to try to live up to stereotypes that benefit them. Like, you could take a look at dark-skinned black men. What do dark-skinned black men do? As a percentage of the black population, nobody is in the gym more than dark-skinned black men. You can barely get sisters to go into the damn gym. it's all about being thick and plus size and you know, having ass for days and everything else. Strangely, the women interpret it to the point of obesity, but I'm saying, you know, you can see the difference in the angles of promotion where, you know, being a super fit, athletic black woman really doesn't seem to, it's not something that's actively promoted. You know, yeah, guys will go gagas over, you know, a bunch of black women that are in the Penn relays and shit. I love them, you know, a bunch of sisters that play volleyball and everything. But, I mean, it's definitely not stopping black men from going out here and fucking with black women who are borderline obese. You know, borderline chunky. Now, I can sit there and point to the fact that a lot of those guys are the broke guys and don't have any money and whatnot, but I'm saying it's not stopping them. So, you know, from a, you know, black woman's perspective, you know, dark skin or light skin, just, you know, the concept that, you know, they're African American, period. You know, the idea that they put on a couple pounds really doesn't mean that, you know, dudes aren't going to be throwing them the dick. Right, you know, this whole concept of, you know, she can have a tummy and still be yummy, right? You know, so, you know, and it's essentially known across the board. I mean, hell, you got other races of women who you know, in their own communities they're fat, but then they come into the black community and, oh man, she's thick. Now some of them are really thick, and you know, even I look at the other races of men like, the fuck you say, you know. But then you also have women who are just, you know, they're fat. You know, but they feel comfortable in coming over to the black community because black men are more accepting, you know, of women being plus size. You know, and these are the type of things that, you know, it's funny because they get acknowledged and they don't get acknowledged at the same time. You know, especially, you know, as it pertains to women who want to run around and scream evil patriarchy and all that other stuff all the time. I'm like, black men give a lot of fucking leeway, you know, to a lot of shit. And some of that may be inadvertently because they don't really have a structure, so they really can't reinforce shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, we can argue about black women not going to the gym and working out and all that other stuff, but I'm saying black men don't have any sort of infrastructure or LA Fitness or Planet Fitness or, you know, Future Fitness or any of these other fitness gyms, you know, to really, you know, put those type of demands on black women from a socioeconomic standpoint, right? We're not providing certain foundations and everything, so putting demands on sisters that they need to look a certain way to be aesthetically pleasing to us really isn't going to, you know, that's not going to, you know, go over very well, you know, based on the disproportionate amounts of poverty and everything else that goes on. It was something else I was going to say. It came into me as I was talking, and then it just slipped my mind. Something about dark-skinned women, promotion. Agreeing on which women to promote. That's been a big point of contention between you know, Chrissy and myself, and even other women on, you know, the internet. You know, and maybe it's just, you know, who I am, but I kind of call bullshit on that because it's like this, right? And this is the issue that I've talked about with, you know, not defining black ugliness and always trying to define black beauty without defining black ugliness. Okay, like I can give the stamp of approval on, let's say, 9 out of 10 black women who are dark-skinned, you know, in terms of the women that we're going to promote. Okay, and I'll say number 10, I'll say, nah, not feeling it. And black women will go the fuck off like, what's wrong with her? What's wrong with her? Oh, you just don't like black features. You don't like black... What the fuck? I approved the first 9, motherfucker. Like, goddamn. I gotta approve all 10? What if I'm just not feeling number 10? I'm just not... Why? Why aren't you feeling number 10? Is her nose too wide? Is her skin too dark? Is her hair too kinky? Is her this too that? Is she too that? I mean, it's like, goddamn, I just approved the first 9, and you flexing on me about number 10? Really? You see? You know, and then the arguments come up about, you know, body types and, you know, should Jasmine Kendrick be in? I like Jasmine Kendrick. I think Jasmine Kendrick is sexy. That doesn't mean that I'm going to throw away Buffy the Body. It depends on how I'm feeling that day. You know, I think most black men's palates are, you know, wide. But just like how we got to get away from the concept of, light is feminine and dark is masculine. We also got to get away from the concept of the only body type that black women are allowed to have is, the bootylicious, curvaceous, big ass and everything else. The chick gotta be the bootiest hoe. There's a whole bunch of black women who ain't built like that. And they feel more comfortable with hopping the fence and being on the other side and getting with the white boys because the white boys is paying attention to the skinny black women that are built like Jasmine Kendrick, which honestly, I don't think that she's skinny, but I'm saying she still got curves. It's about the curve. It's about the angle. The ratio of thickness is irrelevant to me. It's all about having that hourglass shape and that, I forget what the hip to waist ratio is, but that hip to waist ratio, that's what I fuck with. I don't really give a fuck whether it's thick or not thick. But I think that there's an overabundance in the black community on, being thick and bootylicious and all this other stuff. And I'm like, when you look at Africa, at least, freaking, 40-50% of Africa ain't even built like that. Alekwak, y'all need to recognize Alekwak. Alekwak ain't built like no West African. She ain't built like the mass majority of African Americans. She's not. But yet women will try to shove her down your throat. But then when you go off and you pick a black woman like that in the vacuum of space, you're like, yeah, I like this one. They want to question you and that's Eurocentric. They want to attack you on that. Or then when you reject a black woman for whatever fucking reason, again, you approved the first 9, you said, I'm just not feeling this one. And sisters go ballistic. Sisters have this whole thing where they want to pick and present. They want to pick what's presented, and a black man, your only purpose is to stand there and give it a stamp of approval. It's like, no, the spectrum on black beauty, if black beauty was ever to be established, is going to be a fairly narrow spectrum. Now, obviously, it should be black and it should be West African in origin and whatnot, but I'm saying it should be a fairly narrow spectrum. Now, there's people who want to argue, that it should be an African American, spectrum. Because let's face it. A woman like African American versus African is a totally different thing. So, like, if we start going to this establishing the black beauty, so okay, Alek Wek is in and Kerry Washington is out. Alek Wek is in, but Nia Long is out. Like what is it gonna be? And then you get into the arguments of whether India Arie should be in the room or whether India Arie is ugly, or you get into the arguments of, whether Lauryn Hill is in the room or whether Lauryn Hill is unattractive. Like, it's like you can't get down to the beauty contest about, like, I'm sorry, Lauryn Hill looks way better than India Arie. I pick Lauryn Hill all day. And now all of a sudden, Lauryn Hill becomes, relative to India Arie, less West African features. And now Lauryn Hill's being labeled Eurocentric relative to India Arie, where Jasmine Kendrick would be more Eurocentric relative to Lauryn Hill. Like, you can get into the stupidest arguments when you're just having a black beauty contest. And, like, this is like where I just exit the building. I'm like, I said the bitch is attractive, or I said the bitch is ugly, and that's the end of it. I'm a black man. I define the shit. Fuck you and what you think. It just gets to that point where I just, like, draw a line in the sand, and I'm like, fuck what you think. This is what the fuck I like. I don't care. Bitch all day. I don't care. I said this is the one I'm going with, or this is the one I like, and that's just what it is. But because, the whole, like, we have to determine who's been brainwashed to what degree. The chick has to have the biggest fucking lips, the biggest bell pepper nose, the darkest midnight black skin, so black that she's blue, okay? The nappiest of hair, so nappy and so kinky and so tightly curled, and that she can't even grow her hair. And like, even like Chrissy, for example. I like natural hair. Like, right? I like dreadlocks. Let me be more specific when I say I like natural hair. I'm a sucker for sisters with dreadlocks. You can go on YouTube right now, go on Google, and type in dreadlocks. Okay, like even, before, I was the biggest advocate for Chescalay. I was like, Chescalay is beautiful. And motherfuckers was like, I just don't see it. I'm like, Chescalay is beautiful. I don't give a fuck what you say. Then she went on Anderson Cooper, and even Thugtician was like, that's a good looking woman. I was like, I told y'all motherfuckers that's a good looking woman. But then even with looking at Chescalay and saying Chescalay is attractive, there were people who were saying, well, she's got keener features than most, so therefore I still think that SWP, you're self-hating. Because you only like black women that are white women dipped in chocolate or have keener features. It's like, oh my fucking God, right? But even with the liking black women with dreadlocks, then that turns into, well, I think you like dreadlocks because dreadlocks are the only way that black women can really have straight hair, like long hair that's looks like the silhouette of a white woman's hair that's blowing in the breeze, and therefore you wanting black women to have long hair draped over their shoulders is really your secret wish of them being Caucasian so that their hair looks as such that it flows like a white woman. Self-hate, nigga. Self-hate. Right? And then example with Chrissy, Chrissy likes big afros that are kind of stylized and parted, and where sisters are braided at night and then let it go, take out the braids, and so that it's kind of it's got some texture to it. And then you can have people that argue, well, why can't you just let it be nappy? Why do you even comb your hair? Why do you even do any of this stuff? See, you put the box braids in at night so that your hair looks less nappy textured when you take it out in the morning, right? So you get then you get the arguments of, that's what a wash and go is. Wash and go is imitation S curl. That's what you're trying to do. It's imitation Jerry curl. So, self-hate, nigga, self-hate, right? So you get into all that, right? And then, Chrissy will say, this is feels like it for herself. She feels that dreads are, what do you call it? Dreads are, they're not as versatile as just, having natural hair just out. Personally, I disagree with her, and I'm sure probably 50% of the black hair care industry, black female online natural hair care movement probably disagrees with that position. Right? Because, you can go through the videos. Hell, Chescalay's got tons of freaking videos, as well as many other black women on YouTube, and all they do is stylize their dreadlocks. So even I kind of felt some type of way about, whether dreadlocks can be stylized or not, but that's how she feels about it. And I'm saying real talk. It doesn't I'm not attacking her position or defending her position. I'm saying that's the way she feels about it. She's just like, I don't like it. I don't think it's good for me, whatever. And I'm saying the same thing about particular black women who, yes, are dark skinned, where I'm just like, it's not my thing. Girl number 10 doesn't do it for me. It doesn't need an explanation. It doesn't need to be a why, especially when I've already given the stamp of approval and blessing on the other 9 women that came before her. Number 10's just not getting past my personal door. But again, that's another thing that gets into confusion, which is my personal preference versus what is okay to be promoted. You know what I'm saying? And just because something is okay to be promoted doesn't necessarily mean that I would pick it. I would still leap over it or jump past it or move past it, right? But that doesn't mean that I'm moving past it to get to a white girl. I could be moving past it to get to a black woman. And this is what I've said before about the fact that a lot of this India Arie versus Amber Rose type of contest, Viola Davis versus Alicia Keys type of contest, these comparing the uncomparable, it's really designed to prevent there from actually being a legitimate black on black beauty contest where 2 black women are being compared, and I say Lupita looks better than Alek Wek, and that's the end of the conversation. That's the end of it. There is no, well, why? Why do you think? Oh, it's because Alek Wek looks more African than Lupita. They're both African, motherfucker. Goddamn. You see what I'm saying? But I'm saying people want to take it there because they want the person that they want to win, or they want the person that they feel looks most like them to win. There's a whole bunch of reasons as to why somebody would want a particular woman, to win. And so again, this is another area where I'm just like, fuck it, and I walk out the room because, you know, I'm like, so in other words, we're having a black beauty contest and I picked girl number 1 over girl number 2 and they're still bitching? There's still an argument? I'm like, oh, okay, so this lets me know that there is no satisfying the masses on this shit. Because I thought that it was all because, you know, well, brothers are self-hating and they're picking other races of women or like women. And okay, well, we having a black beauty contest and I'm saying that I feel that, you know, whatever, Kerry Washington looks better than Nia Long or Jill Marie Jones, you know, looks better than Lauryn Hill. And people are still like, they're still bitching. I'm like, all right, this is where I exit the room. Okay. And, there was one more thing that I was going to say, and this is the most important thing, and I saved it towards the end for a reason, about picking these women. Hold on a second so I can remember what I was going to say. Oh, I remember. And this is the most important point of this whole video. Now, I haven't shared this idea with anybody other than Captain Solo. Okay? And, you know, this is kind of how I feel about, you know, especially when it comes to the whole not really having any sympathy for dark-skinned women. Okay? Now, before the conversations that have, you know, been had, okay, I didn't know to the extent of which dark-skinned women were rejecting light-skinned men. And as I discovered the degree to which dark-skinned women were rejecting light-skinned men, you know, it kind of left me feeling some type of way about it. Especially when we look at, you know, how did dark skin come into vogue? Dark skin men came into vogue between, I'd say, 1988 and 1994. You know, with all the dark skin, you know, gangster rap and hyper masculinity and everything else, right? And how did light skinned guys get pushed out? Now, light skinned guys have never been said that it's not a matter of them not being good looking guys. Light skinned guys in the black community, just as light skinned females in the black community, still hold the better looking black people title. No doubt about that. But the thing that happened to light skinned guys, and I said this in the previous video, is that light skinned guys were made to look like bitches, made to look like less manly and less masculine than dark skinned men. Okay? And you know, most of the people who are listening to this video right now, they're not old enough to remember the transition. Even, you know, Chrissy and myself, you know, in other words, we were coming of age. We were becoming, you know, really starting to be, you know, sexually interested in the opposite sex when this transition was happening. So, you know, we were the beginnings of, you know, where as far as we can go back to when we were sexually into the opposite sex, dark-skinned men have always been in. Captain Solo's generation, dark-skinned men were not in, and then dark-skinned men came into vogue. Now, here's the thing, right? I've explained this numerous times, like how that happened. You know, Wesley Snipes stabbing Christopher Williams in the hands, sit your $5 ass down before I make change, right? Dark-skinned dudes feeling like they never got a chance with the light-skinned women that they wanted to fuck before the 80s, and then they got a chance to mess with them, and so they was just thirsty for the chicks that they could never have, okay? Dark-skinned men got ushered in with all this, you know, sports and media and entertainment and masculinity and rap music and all that other stuff, right? And so dark-skinned women switched over and they were really starting to look at the dark-skinned men. Here's the thing, though. This is where I kind of have a problem. I'm gonna wait for the dump truck to stop. Okay, it stopped. Here's where I have a problem, because this is what it looks like to me, and this is the main reason I really don't have any sympathy, aside from, you know, the not wanting to reorganize the race, and when you're trying to help a group of people and they just do everything inadvertently in their power to undermine what you're actually trying to remedy or correct. You know, even from a psychological standpoint. But the issue I have is this is what it looks like, okay? And like Cap even pointed it out in one of the things, like one of the statements that he made, because like example, whether light skinned women are included in the black community or not is really doesn't have much to do with whether black men are going to pick them or not. If black men think that they're attractive, that's who they're going to pick. Now, I kind of am still on the fence about that because I do feel like, dudes try to one drop them rule in like ridiculously. And I feel like if they couldn't do that, they would, in other words, light-skinned women would be treated like white women. And in some instances, they are treated like white women when you go into black women's spaces and whatnot. And, they're talking about, the colorism and everything else. You know what I mean? Like, liking a light-skinned chick is the same as liking a white woman as far as many of those women are concerned. So, trying to pass, any of these light-skinned women off as, black ain't going to cut it in those spaces. But generally speaking, in the community, it's totally accepted. Okay? But on the other side, when looking at the women, women need to stop running around, like sin, running around talking about the naturalness of black women's attraction to dark-skinned black men, and black men are they don't know, they don't have knowledge of self and the brainwash and the condition and everything else, and they don't like black women because they don't have the strength of black women in black women's consciousness. Black women are equally as weak-minded. But that doesn't seem to come up. It's like when Chrissy talks about black men's fragility. Oh, they're just so fragile and this confidence is not real and everything else. She's 100% spot on about that. But see, what women do is women hide behind the shield of, oh, they're women and so they're supposed to be fragile. So even if I try to slam them with the fragile stick, they'll say, well, we're women and it's different. And I've always had a problem with that, and this is one of the points in areas of contention that Cap and I have in terms of, the psychological nature of males and females. I believe that there's it's a social engineering, when it comes to, how girls are socialized and raised and how boys are socialized and raised. And when I see boys and girls and I look at how their minds are affected, to me, they're equal. It's the same shit. Now, yes, boys are going to have to bear the burden of the responsibilities of the community, so they have to be stronger, they have to be harder, they have to be trained in that manner. It's the same as in the movie 300. It's not just I have a penis and I am Leonidas and I am going to go out there and we're going to stop the Persians. No, the boys were trained to fight and ignore pain since childhood. And they didn't become men until they went into the wilderness like some Native American shit and killed a wolf or something like that, spend 30 days out in the wilderness, and then come back, and only then were they, seen as men. And you gotta look at the amount of men who fail that type of test. Like, y'all ever hear about the Native Americans in the Sundance? Where they take, basically, a sharp object and they stick it through their pec and then they let themselves hang, bleeding from their chest in pain. They let themselves hang with these needles, and the white man, they saw that shit and they were terrified from the shit. But if a Native American male with these damn, needles sticking through his chest, hanging from this damn thing that's swinging him around, if he cried out in pain, he was labeled a bitch for the rest of his life and ostracized and treated like a woman in the tribe. No fucking females have to go through some shit like that. Men have to earn their stripes to be a man. Women don't have to earn shit to be a fucking female. They just simply, be. And then women bring up birth and, we go through the pain of birth and women die giving birth. That's a biological function. Take that shit up with God. Men did not assign you that position. You have a vagina and a uterus. Men do not have a vagina and a uterus. So don't sit there and try to present that as, some equalizing shit to men have to go out there and, go through pain and suffering and everything else. That's just another side note. Okay? But, that's how I look at it when it comes to, the psychological, molding of an individual, right? So, like, when Chrissy jumps up and she's like, and y'all some fragile ass bitch, like, that shit doesn't faze me. It doesn't faze me because I'm saying if boys don't get the proper training, if they don't get the proper orientation, then there are going to be things that are going to be wrong with them that are not conducive to the whatever is beneficial to the community as a whole. That including women and children and other black males and females. It's ultimately if the boys are fucked up, they're going to grow up into fucked up men, and the women are going to have to deal with that fucked up crowd. Okay, it's just that simple. So that's just how I look at the whole brainwashing thing. Brainwashing is brainwashing is brainwashing. There's no gender aspect to it. Like boys are not supposed to have, some gene that prevents them from being brainwashing. I mean, this is how Hitler got a whole fucking nation of men, to fucking blitzkrieg on Poland. You know what I mean? Or go to war and sacrifice themselves and shit. That's how you get people to do that. You pump out those type of, it's like the freaking United States Army commercials. Be all you can be, right? Making the shit look awesome to run over a hill with machine guns shooting at your ass. Make that shit look triumphant. Make that shit look heroic. And they'll believe and feed into that crap. And so obviously there's a lot of things that young black men are not getting, and it comes from, it's obviously we have white media in the background, but I'm saying the negative aspects are coming from all sorts of angles, in the community, itself, whether it's coming from black men or whether it's coming from, the negative things that are perpetuated both by black men and black women, Y'all know that black women are saying some foul shit to their black sons that will have their black sons say, don't want a black woman, but that doesn't get called out. But here's my thing. Let me get to the meat and the potatoes of what I'm actually saying here, because I've been beating around the bush a little bit. My issue is that I feel like the chips fell where they fell. And when I hear, the dismissal of light-skinned black men, right? I'm like, well, light-skinned black men, I mean, in other words, it has nothing, you not picking them has nothing to do with any sense of loyalty or consciousness. So that argument needs to stop coming from all sisters across the board. You not picking light-skinned men has everything to do with the fact that light-skinned men were made to look like some bitches in the media, and dark-skinned men were promoted as more manly and more masculine, and you found that appealing. And the whole media machine behind dark-skinned masculinity. Okay? That's what that shit was. And the way that light-skinned men are dismissed just so unapologetically, right? I'm like, well, you're no different than the black men who dismiss dark-skinned women unapologetically. You're no different. In other words, if the universe was different, and let's say it wasn't Wesley Snipes who stabbed Christopher Williams in the hand, and it was Christopher Williams who stabbed Wesley Snipes in the hand and said, sit your dark, crispy ass down, you porch monkey. Okay? You dark, crispy, nappy-headed porch monkey. If it went in that direction, and then, I mean, it was just, the Chico DeBarge, the DeBarge family just getting promoted as masculine all over the place. Right? Knowing that black women are just as susceptible to the media as black males are susceptible to the media, and anybody else is susceptible to the media, then it would simply be black women unapologetically dismissing dark-skinned men and focusing on light-skinned black men. And that's just what it would be. It would be the same thing that you see now, it would just be reversed. And black women would be sitting in their comfortable position saying, oh well. See, they want to act like they think so differently, or they're so different in their consciousness, or they're just so different in their ability to be brainwashed. And it's bullshit. It's bullshit. You know what I'm saying? Now, if people want to be honest about that, then I can empathize with black women. Then I can say to black women, you know what, this whole shit is fucked up and you're right, we all have been brainwashed. But you don't get that type of acknowledgement from black women. What black women do is they try to elevate themselves over black men, which again is subconsciously linked to the matriarchy and all that other bullshit. You know, where they're like, well, we're conscious and y'all motherfuckers is conscious and we can't believe that y'all were brainwashed, and how we're not brainwashed because we just some conscious sisters and we've been loving dark skin, you know, Afrocentric, you know, original Afro-Asiatic black man, dark skin status, you know, since we came to the shores of America. And it was you, the black man, that abandoned us, and they're so brainwashed and conditioned by light skin and believing all this bullshit about white women and light skinned women and mixed women being superior to us. Shame on you, black men. Shame on you. And that's what sisters do. And it's bullshit. It's bullshit. The only reason dark-skinned men are looked at is because of the fucking media promotion. And black women who are dark-skinned have no issue unapologetically dismissing light-skinned guys. Oh, I just don't like them. I just can't. They just don't move me. They just don't do anything for me. And I'm not going to sit here and defend the black men who are colorist and say foul things, but I'm saying you have to consider that if you are a dark-skinned female and that's how you feel, like where it's just like, I just can't. It just light-skinned guys, they just don't do it for me. That's how these colorist black males feel about you. And that's how virtually impossible it would be, even with promoting you and promoting dark skin, it would be to get them brothers off of that shit. In other words, if I put 1,000 light-skinned brothers in front of you, are you going to be any more attracted to them right now? No, you're not. Real talk, you're not. You know, and putting 1,000 dark-skinned women in front of them is not going to change how they feel about dark-skinnedness or dark-skinned women. It may change a very, very small percentage, maybe 15, 20%. But the vast majority, no. You know, and I said in my last video, you'd have to start with the children in terms of, you know, this type of promotion. And the problem that exists right now, is essentially the only black men who are going to do it are going to be black men who either A, are specifically into dark-skinned women, or B, those who understand the plight because they have dark-skinned daughters. They have to have some sort of connection to dark-skinned black women. Even just on the superficial level of being attracted to them, or liking them, or whatever. It has to be that. Okay, because even most of them don't even tie the whole thing into, you know, a patriarchy and black men uplifting black women so that black women are emotionally and psychologically in a sound state of mind to where, you know, they feel safe and secure being with and around black men, to the point where, you know, when you start talking about black male leadership, the thing that doesn't come up is the idea of the fact that black men don't pick them or choose them first, or don't, you know, see them as, you know, the most desirable women. I mean, if I was a black woman and I felt like I was the second choice, I wouldn't want to submit myself to black men. I wouldn't. If I felt that at the end of the day, in the back of his mind, he wants a white woman or a light-skinned woman or this other woman or any other woman could come in the room and just replace me like that, I would seriously feel some type of way about that. I totally understand, you know, sisters on that tip. You know, But, you know, I know that most brothers, even the ones that are, you know, supporting, you know, oh, you know, we support the beauty of black women, they're not doing it from the standpoint of, like, if there was a black, you know, super Illuminati type of, you know, people who come together who understand how you almost have to psychologically manipulate the black masses in order to get the black masses to be in the right state of mind, not knowing all the details, to do and operate in a proper manner that is conducive to the group. So they'll be running around in the community, man, say, man, I love dark skin because I just do. What are you talking about? It's only natural for me to like dark skin. Completely ignoring the fact that you had a bunch of, you know, esoteric elite black males who orchestrated it that way. Personally, I don't think that there's anything natural about people essentially being attracted to their own. I walk into the danger zone when it comes to that, but I'm sorry, I do believe in universal aspects of attraction. I think that if it wasn't for, tribalism and group economics and things like that, oh, please, you would have way more interracial relationships on planet Earth than you do right now. If it wasn't for the one-sided and lopsided media promotion and all that other stuff, you'd have way more. Because seriously speaking, if it wasn't universal, then the races would have branched off into different species by now where we wouldn't be able to freaking procreate. Where like you can't take a donkey and a horse and make an offspring that's reproductively viable because a mule is not reproductively viable. Two mules cannot get together and reproduce. Mother Nature said, no, y'all motherfuckers is too different, so you can't do it. Despite being on different continents, despite the, several hundreds of thousands of years that human beings have literally not, freaking touched each other, apparently, right? In all that time, it doesn't matter what combination of human beings you put together, they can still procreate. So from a biological standpoint and a scientific standpoint, being, the scientific person that I am, I'm like, this shit is all this mystical shit that people put on blackness and whiteness and all that, like, it's bullshit to me. But in terms of focusing on community and structure and everything, oh, you gotta be racist as fuck. You have to be racist. If you're talking about, preserving, wealth and resources and everything in your community, you should be talking about white people like dogs. You should be promoting, their negative image all over the place, the same way that they promote black people's negative image all over the place. You should be having the masses of your people thinking that white people are the most disgusting human beings on the face of the planet. You should be talking and promoting all of the type of fuckery that sin promotes. You should be promoting all of that. I'm saying if your goal is to, correct, the total brainwashing and self-hatred and everything else that the white community has imposed on the black community, as it pertains to, the way that, black people have all these self-hate issues. One of the most clever things that white supremacy has done in the black community is the uneven promotion. Again, more divide and conquer, right? What do they do with the white people, right? And versus the slaves, right? Oh shit, Bacon's Rebellion. Oh, the white indentured servants and the black slaves, they gang together and form Voltron on our ass. Fuck that shit. We ain't gonna have that. Divide and conquer. Give the white overseers a little bit more, and that'll leave the black people feeling some type of way, and that'll leave the overseers feeling like, they can't they don't want to lose anything because, hey, we can just tell them, hey, if you let the black people rise up, they're gonna come for your shit and take the little bit that we've given you, right? And so what happens? You get the poor white people that go out there, they vote for Trump because they feel, even though they're getting fucked and shafted in the ass by the system, they feel that they got to protect a little bit that they got. And that's pretty much where black men are. And when you look at the discrepancies in promotion of dark-skinned black men versus dark-skinned black women, dark-skinned black women are essentially akin to, or tantamount in my analogy, to the slaves. And dark-skinned black men are the overseers. And dark-skinned black men have essentially this, Donald Trump type of mentality of, man, we ain't trying to give up this promotion, man. Fuck this. This shit is good. You know what I'm saying? We got other races of women on our dick. We got light-skinned bitches on our dick. Man, we got pussy over here on some dark-skinned shit. Hold on. Let me go to the gym. Get the muscles up. Get them aesthetic muscles up. You know what I'm saying? Oh, man, black man. Oh, you have such big muscles you have. Yes, big muscles. The better to fuck you with, my dear. Yes. Oh, black man. Oh, you have such a big dick. Oh, yes. The better to fuck you with, my dear. Oh, black man. You have such awesome lips and your Afrocentric lips. Yes. The better to kiss you with, my dear. And eat that pussy, yes, because I'll tear the pussy up, because I'm a sex god, because that's what the white media has told me. And I'm saying, going from a position of an inferiority complex that black men had in the 80s about being dark-skinned versus, where they are in all through the 2000s and even mid-90s, and all that, yeah, that shit went to their head. And if dark-skinned women came into vogue tomorrow, it would totally go to their head. It would totally go to their head. Because they've been deprived for so long. And up until, the early 90s, dark-skinned black men were deprived for so long. I mean, I go back and I look at those old, videos of black women in the 80s and everything. They always got some what's that nigga in the Janet Jackson Again video. Nigga with the blonde dreads and green eyes and shit. Was he on like CSI or some shit like that? And then he was like fucking around with drugs and now he looks like shit. But I'm saying, there was always one of them. Them Milli Vanilli looking brothers. You know what I mean? Girl, it's true. Ooh, 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 I love you. Right? Them niggas was always the ones that was just, getting all the babes. Until, Prince came out with his ass cheeks and then homophobia and then HIV and then in comes Naughty by Nature. In comes dark-skinned masculinity. In comes I kill a motherfucker. All that shit. 6 a.m, type shit. Even though that was light-skinned dude, that was Ice-T. But they tolerated a couple tokens here and there. But I mean, seriously speaking, we ain't really seen light-skinned, rapping niggas since. It's like they were kind of like the ones that were lingered around, and then after that, motherfuckers was gone. And I think some of that, seriously speaking, like, how the fuck are you going to talk about songs talking about fuck the police when, where was the the massive amounts of the epidemic of light-skinned dudes getting, beat downs by police officers in the 90s? Like, you didn't see that. So people kind of felt like, they weren't even really in the shit. The shit didn't affect them. So things like that kind of shift the conversation away from, them, even really being seriously considered. But I'm not justifying, any of the shit that black men are on. I do think that it stems from, too much brainwashing, and not making connections to, wanting to, really wanting to fix the problem. They want who they want who is promoted and everything. And again, like when Chrissy says, their fragility and they're weak and they're brainwashed and everything, I'm like, yeah, that's all a part of being conquered. That's all a part of being conquered. And I'm saying nobody in the black community has essentially done anything to shield the next generation of boys from that shit. That's where the focus has to be, because as far as I'm concerned, the guys who are gone are gone. Now, the major issue is the fact that the guys are gone, however percentage of black men that is, they're not going to fix the problem because they're gone. Why are they going to fix a problem for a group of women that they're not attracted to if they're not attracted to them? Right? So the only ones that are going to do it are going to be your ultra conscious, type of brothers that are going to do it. I just don't like the lack of what's the word? Hubris? I don't know. The lack of acknowledgement that brainwashing is universal and affects everybody. Okay? Because, again, when I look at that dismissal of light-skinned guys, I'm like, oh, so if the shoe was on the other foot, it would just be, oh, sorry, dark-skinned black men, you all are out, we're in, and that's just the way that it is. And that really doesn't motivate me to do anything. It really leaves a foul taste in my mouth, because it reminds me of a story, and then I'm going to end this video. It reminds me of a story that Cap told me a long time ago when we were talking about dating single mothers. It's like, he was messing with a woman, who had she had a kid and everything, and sisters will browbeat you, if they have a kid, to date single mothers. I mean, you saw this with Jamila Lemieux. Russell Wilson is just the most amazing black man in the world because he left a white woman to be with a single mother. Like, I would have been cool with he left a white woman to be with a black woman. I would have been cool with that. But no, he left a white woman to be with a single mother. It's like, first off, Sierra wasn't no welfare case. She wasn't no charity case. But I'm saying the way that she promoted that. I'm like, ain't this some bullshit? But here's the thing. This is the thing that was said to Cap. Basically, the woman was like, yeah, you should date single mothers, and you shouldn't, disqualify them and everything else like that. And Cap entertained the shit, only to come to find out later that it had this chick not had the baby, and had Cap had a child, she would never date a man with children. Even though she's saying, oh, but you need to date a single mother, and the children, it could be a blessing, and all the shit, because she's in the situation. But if the shoe was on the other foot, she wouldn't look at Cap twice, let alone once. And it's like, wow, so you mean to tell me like all this victimization, all this pity party shit, all this, well, it's not fair, and I mean, you didn't create this, and so you can't use that as a reason why it's just okay for you to be on what you're on. But seriously speaking, if the universe was different and had chick not had the baby and she was single, she wouldn't touch a guy that had a kid. But when she's got the kid, oh, you need to get with a woman that's got a kid. And that's kind of how I feel about this whole colorism thing. Once I realized how much the media played into this shit. Because, I mean, it does sound legit when sisters are like, and y'all just brainwashed, and y'all niggas is weak, and if you was a real patriarchs, you wouldn't let none of this shit affect you, even though we all know that it starts early. It starts with the doll test. Right? Which doll is the good doll? Which doll is the nice doll? Which doll is the bad doll? Right? And all the negative attributes get associated with the bad doll, and all the positive attributes get associated with the light doll, the white doll. Right? So this shit starts fucking early, before people are even interested in the opposite genders. It's the value system associated with blackness. Okay? And the only way that's going to change is, two ways: one, promotion, and B, actually having a community and environment where blackness isn't always associated with poverty, right? This is why motherfuckers run around talking about Arab money. How many people say African American money? Like, nobody says African American money, because we ain't known for having money. If anything, it's nigger rich, which is associated with drug dealers who make money and then spend it the next day and never have any sort of accumulated wealth, right? So there's a whole issue with blackness as a whole. But again, sisters make it seem out like, they're just uber conscious, and they're just so down, and they're just naturally attracted to dark-skinned men and everything else like that. And unfortunately, it takes a group of black women who are probably in their 50s to actually sit down and be honest about, like, hey, look, in 88, you couldn't have paid me to look at a dark-skinned dude. But, by 94, 96, I couldn't get enough of dark-skinned dudes. And it all had to do with the constant bombardment of fucking media. The constant bombardment of dark-skinned masculinity, just all over the place, just everywhere. Everywhere. Just dark-skinned masculinity, football players where they tuck their jersey underneath their pads, and motherfuckers out there just looking brolic. Like, who's that nigga with the dreads? The muscled out dude, Ulysses. You know what I'm saying? Like, when you look at Ulysses, and then you look at, like, some of the way that light skinned dudes have been promoted, compare the Ulysses motherfucker to Christopher Williams at the height of his career and shit. That shit ain't even fucking comparable. How often do you see light-skinned dudes walking around, with muscles for days? You know what I'm saying? You don't even see them built like that, right? But they put it in your head that every black man built like Reggie Bush. Every dark-skinned motherfucker, every motherfucker who's brown and darker is just a black version of a Greek god. That was promoted. But yet everybody running around here, original man status this, original man status that, superior DNA this, they mutated that, and all this other stuff. And I get why sisters do it, because with all the supposed claims of consciousness in the black community, it's a damn good way to get black men to value dark-skinned black women without the promotion. right? Because, I mean, hey, if you're conscious, right? If you're down for the community, right? If you're down for the cause, right? Then your consciousness should create a level of attraction to just black women, and you should be able to see the beauty in black women through some mystical lens or some shit like that. And there is no mystical lens. It doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. If black women do not get dark skin promotion exclusive to them, then what exists now will just simply continue. I can guarantee you that. I can guarantee you what is going on right now will continue, if not get worse. If dark-skinned black women don't get some sort of positive, feminine, female promotion that is exclusive to them. Light-skinned women, mixed women will get enough promotion from white media. They don't need any promotion. They don't need to be included. It's already intrinsic to white supremacy and white media, which is why I'm the biggest advocate of this. The race needs to be reorganized. They don't need to be in black spaces, period, because they're going to get promoted regardless because of the proxy to whiteness. Because white people will continuously try to sneak in that curveball of, these are the beautiful black people. These are the acceptable black people. These black people are beautiful because of their proximity to us. They will continuously throw that curveball in the black community via their media, giving them the romantic roles, giving them, the superior positions. Okay? They're going to continue doing that. Freaking Abraham Lincoln and the Vampire Slayer, and they got a mixed woman playing Harriet Tubman. Retarded shit like that. Okay? So, they don't need to be in the space at all. And that goes for black women and black men. I'm not saying black men don't need to, be the biggest advocates of promoting dark-skinned women. But in the spaces that dark-skinned women do control, I'm like, y'all gotta have some sort of filter. Seriously, it's your space. It's your space. You determine what goes down in that space. And I'm saying, technically speaking, you should be telling light-skinned women the same thing that you tell light-skinned dudes. Sorry, unapologetically. Sorry, Taryn guy. This ain't for you. Sorry, light-skinned dude. You just don't do it for me. I'm sorry. Whether it's legitimate or not, based on promotion or not, I'm just saying. I mean, when it comes to light-skinned dudes, sisters don't have no problems rejecting them. So I'm like, I don't see why there's any issue rejecting the light-skinned women. But then in comes all the, we bond with women and this, that, and the third, and da-da-da-da. And I'm like, and you're creating problems for yourself. I'm like, you're not going to get a conscious response from a group of men who are either A, not conscious, or B, brainwashed themselves. No matter how much you shout from the mountaintops. That's what comes with not being aware. That's what comes with, example, the idea of one thing my brother said a long time ago, where he was like, well, I just think they just look better. Where you just start thinking it just is. It's just automatic. They just look better. No explanation. I mean, they just look better. Just no explanation. No rhyme or reason. You're not even examining, well, maybe you think that light features or white features look better, and since they have white or turf features relative to black, that's why you think they look better. No, it's just they look better. Just look at them. And then when you look at the promotion of all these light-skinned and biracial and mixed people and everything else, it does appear that way. I mean, they just look better. And then what happens? The shit that either black people perpetuate or white media perpetuates. Here's a dark-skinned black woman. Oh, a sweet Betty Brown. Can you tell us about, what happened here? And they get this fucking toothless black woman that's overweight and beyond her age of looking attractive and doesn't, not well kept and everything. And then that image of dark-skinned black women just constantly keeps getting pounded and put into your head. All those images that Chrissy has, divine dark skin and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? When somebody says a dark-skinned woman, even with me, I have to fight to conjure up an image like that. Because I don't see women who look like that every day when I walk down the street. And those women are not in my face 24/7 anytime I enter social media or when I enter, in the internet or when I open magazines. They're not. And after a while, slowly but surely, it does enter your mind that these women don't even exist. Okay? And when black women have such lack of promotion where the idea is that they don't even exist, when I get to looking at black women that are talking about dark skin, and colorism being an issue and everything, and they're in their own spaces, I'm like, yo, it's so bad that people don't even think that the women who are dark skinned and beautiful even exist. I'm like, maybe you should cut back on even having the light skinned women in the room. That's how bad this promotion is fucking needed. And I'm saying, look, I'm not trying to put the burden on dark skinned women wholly as it pertains to fixing their image, but I'm saying if you are dealing with a whole bunch of brainwashed brothers, if 8 out of 10 brothers either are, desire light-skinned women secretly, or if they could be with one, they would pick one, which I don't believe that's what the number is, but, that's what sisters will jump up here and say, because, who's to argue that? This is how much the influence of media can change people's perspectives. Whether it's true or not true, like, it changes people's perspectives on what's actually out there. If I was being bombarded with nothing but freaking sexy black women, dark-skinned black women, maybe I wouldn't think that, they didn't exist as much as, I say to myself they don't exist. This is why I was going over, I was intentionally trying to condition myself, going over to, what's the websites called? The Black Girl thread. Over there on, what's that with? It's not the Hot Wire, it's something. If you type in Google the Black Girl thread, it'll come up on Google. You click on it, right? And first off, the number of uploads to that site has severely dropped. The Black Girl thread. Not only that, but like I'd say 65 to 70% of the girls in the Black Girl thread aren't black. They're not dark skinned. They're mixed chicks that are being passed off as black, or light-skinned chicks that are being passed off as black, and that's where the confusion comes in. Thinking that the Tatiana Ali's are the pretty black girls, and that's it. Like, she's a category of black women that is the pretty ones. All the other ones, they ain't it. Nah, that's them other black girls. That's them other type of black girls that you don't want. It's the Tatiana Ali bitches. That's the bad sister. That's the one that you want. Who just made a song talking about that? Having Tatiana Ali sit on their lap or some shit like that. I was listening to somebody's song and it was like, yeah, got a bad bitch like Tatiana Ali on my lap. I think it was The Game. I can't even remember. You know what I mean? I think yeah. Was it The Game? Was it The Game in that Boomy Alale or whatever? What's that fucking song called with the freaking Future in that shit? Or no, not Future, 2 Chainz. What the damn song called? We know what song I'm talking about. But anyway, I think that we are. I'm not going to sit there and say that it can't be fixed, but I'm saying, having it fixed by a bunch of men who are not conscious at all about the shit, who don't even question it themselves, who are strictly, operating on what makes their dick, arouse. Like, I'm like, you're not going to get any sort of come to the rescue from those guys. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And it is going to be, the job of the conscious individuals, to support and promote dark skinned women, damn near, if not completely exclusively, and that's been my position. So that's pretty much all I got to say about it. I just wish that there was more acknowledgement that black women's attraction to dark-skinned men is equally as much media promotion as dark-skinned black men's attraction to light-skinned women. Now, we don't have an answer on why light-skinned dudes are not affected by the shit. The idea that because they lack melanin, they're light-skinned, I don't think that really has much to do with it. I think that what it comes down to is the fact that essentially, in not being promoted, they've never had, in this era of them not being promoted for so long, they've never had anything that really, puts them down or elevates them. They've had to come up with their own concepts of what defines them as a man, which gives them the freedom to not, be influenced by the media, because I do think that a lot of dark-skinned black males growing up as children do have inferiority complexes about their blackness, and I do believe that some of the running to other races of women has to do with some sense of escapism, or running to light-skinned women has to do with some idea or concept of escapism. Okay, and be it that light-skinned women are also further promoted as, more feminine, right? And then you have all that, sexual promotion and everything. Then it just becomes a sexual fetish type of thing in conjunction with the escapism and all that, and failing the doll test and everything else, to where, they're just wholly focused on, those light-skinned women. So, these things have to change, and they're not going to change with the current, generation of men. They have to change with the next generation of men. So even if some shit was to be promoted today, real talk, the black women of today would not benefit from it. It would be the next generation of black women who benefit from it. Everything that would be fixed today, everything that you can point to in the black community that would be fixed today, would be for the benefit of future generations. Most people, they would not benefit from it. They would only see the tail end of it. And I personally think that black people across the board are too selfish to ever, do anything that's going to not benefit them, but benefit future generations. That's just how I feel about it. Because people want shit fixed now. And they're just calling upon the universe for it to be fixed now so that they can reap the benefit. And I can tell you, that you're not going to reap the benefit. I have to tell myself the same thing about, any brothers that I go out here and work with. The goal really is to have it so that, my son can, have the tools necessary to be a patriarch and have, other young men to freaking work with, which is why I'm concerned about, black men being in the position. Because if they're not in the position, then, they're not going to have anything to pass on to their son. And my son, if he does come across black men who even have the freaking consciousness, they're not going to have the wherewithal. So they're not going to be able to maintain a black patriarch. He's just going to be out there like me, by his damn self, operating as a goddamn individual, fighting, to make conscious decisions, that's supposed to benefit and help a community that doesn't exist. So that's just how I feel about the whole thing. But anyway, that's all I got to say. That's my video. SWP out.